Hello, hello, fellas, to the Mint Map Spaces. Welcome. Jason, can you hear me?
Yeah, man, I got you.
Perfect, man. I was worried, man. You've been a couple of minutes late. What has been up?
I was sitting here. I got sucked into a conversation with Michael Saylor around crypto and Bitcoin at the corporate level. And they were talking about some of the strategies. And so I was sitting here and just getting an education and not paying attention to the clock, my friend. What are you up to?
Yeah, I was waiting here, man. It's interesting because I just saw a video of Michael Saylor predicting that anytime this summer, Ethereum will be classified as an unregistered security, and as a result of that, none of the other altcoins will ever get an ETF. And yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's going to be tough for Ethereum because of the staking situation, since it's not proof of work and it is controlled by a group of people. Bitcoin has property treatment because it's basically ubiquitous and there's no centralized group of people that control the formation of the code or the release of the code. The miners can vote, the nodes can vote. So basically, everyone has more say in what happens. It's more of a, I mean, I think it was all the way back in like 2014 where Bitcoin was classified as a property as opposed to an equity. So when you have something like Ethereum or Solana or any of the bigger or even smaller companies that have put tokens and chains out, like at the end of the day, you have to realize they're run by a group of people, and any organization run by a group of people is going to not be able to be treated as property. So they're going to take a really hard look at what it is that they're producing because the ETFs like to own things primarily, right? So if you have a group and you have like a group of people who've created a chain and a token that then on top of that throws off cash flow, it really complicates everything. I don't agree with that. I think we will get an Ethereum ETF. I think we'll get a Solana ETF. It might take a long time. If it doesn't go through, that'll throw a monkey wrench into approvals for a lot of things. But I mean, the world over, whether it happens in the US or not, it'll happen somewhere, and the US will be pressured. I think by that point, there'll be so much pressure that they'll almost have to approve it in some way, shape, or form. But we'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, the who can say what the SEC is going to approve or not? Those guys have had their heads up their asses for years, so it might take a while, but I don't agree with that. I think ultimately we will get one.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that Michael is definitely focused on Bitcoin, and it's actually interesting because we've already had the same discussion with Ripple back then with the case, and I think the judge, I think she was called Torres, came to the conclusion that Ripple is no security. So let's see where we go there, right?
Yep, that's one example. But they did have to go through what 4 years, 5 years of lawsuits to get to that point. So hopefully that won't be the case again. But I mean, Ripple again was a great example of them just not understanding how the market works, but also riding the line between basically starting a public company versus opening up a utility for the public. I mean, that's the guy. I mean, the thing is, everybody in blockchain thinks or created a chain or a crypto under the guise of wanting to provide a public utility, but very few have actually done that, right? And so there's a lot of bad actors in the space who have just taken advantage of people. Even with, like, if you look at the launch of something like Solana, which came out in 2020, and this is not unique to Solana. This is just one of the stories. There are many, many stories. In fact, most of your major chains did this. Um, some of you guys, if you're in the investment world, you're probably familiar with A16Z, Andreessen Horowitz. And they just abbreviate it to A16Z. I mean, these guys funded a lot of these early projects. Solana was one, and these guys got tons and tons and tons of free tokens in addition to discounted tokens. And when they went in during the cycles, when all this stuff was building, they helped promote and push this thing to the public like it was a service or like it was a product. And so people were, sort of influenced in just the same way that we've seen in the NFT world and the Web3 world with utilities and applications. They basically bought influence to get the token exposure. And then, of course, when it went public and it opened up to everyone, what did they do? They sold all their shit and they walked away with hundreds of millions of dollars. And so, you've seen this time and time and time again. And that's what you would do if you were in the IP market, or I'm sorry, the IPO market, the initial public offering market, in the stock market, and here, they had the ICO market, the initial coin offering market. It's the same thing. So when you have something that looks like a company and acts like a company, and, it's kind of that whole story. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So the SEC can't really classify these other chains as property because they are centralized. All of these chains are centralized except for Bitcoin. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Let's take a little look at the markets. Today they are pretty green, at least looking at the 24-hour charts. And this was most likely caused by the US job data release, which led people to expect that interest rates will be cut earlier. And I know we've talked a lot about market psychology, but I've always wondered why so many people make such poor decisions, even though market cycles are like more or less predetermined. And I think I found the answer again with the current dip, because it was actually insane how many people suddenly panicked on Twitter too. So many posts about the bull market being over, that this cycle is different and therefore it won't play out like the last times. How did you perceive all of this? Do you subscribe to the motto "Sell in May and go away"?
It's funny that you mentioned that. And what's up, everybody? I guess we should say hello. We just kind of jumped into this thing. So I was up half the night, and so I'm sort of sleepy right now. I was getting the boss drop ready, but that's another story. So yes, the sell in May and go away thing is an old Wall Street axiom that basically that it sort of evolved out of this idea that as the weather starts to get warm, the big money players back in the day would start taking vacations, and they would basically be no way to trade because nothing was electronic. And it sort of just kind of held. These guys would leave the city, they would go to their country homes or their beach homes, and they would stay there for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months out of the summer, and then they would come back, right? And this cycle is actually pretty valid if you look at it, but and it could be that that had something to do with the initial drop in terms of the fact that we've got ETF buyers in the market, and the big money guys basically subscribe to that rule. But I think more than anything, what it was is people forgot excuse me, people forgot that leading up to the halving on what it ended up being April 20th, I think, leading up to the halving, we had a massive, massive, massive run up in the market. There was all this expectation about where everything was going. And so we had this massive run up pre halving, and it was bigger than it had been in the past. So a lot of the gains were already priced in when the halving happened. And I think a lot of people looked at that as an opportunity to take profits. And especially if you're a big money mover and you need to report your earnings or your results every quarter. Well, April is the beginning of the second quarter. March is the end of the first. So, what if you can capture those gains now? By the time you get your reports ready to go out to your shareholders or your interested parties, mid-April, mid-May, then now you can look like you've, made some incredible gains. So I think it's just a conflux of things, like new money coming into the marketplace, big money coming into the marketplace, and then of course seeing an opportunity to capture those gains. And then of course I think, it's funny that when we talk about market psychology, we forget the word fatigue. Like the market just gets tired, right? Like there's only so many times you can have the same thing happen over and over and over again before people just sort of either expect it or get tired of it. And for a while there, every day you looked at the charts and the market was green. Like it was green every day. So you just kind of developed this expectation that, hey, Solana's going to 500, man. It was at $90 yesterday and today's at 150 or whatever it is, and then it's going to 200 and then 220. And then you just forget, oh, everything goes in both directions, and this is the conversation we had around why I sold a portion of my Solana at 200. because the sell in May go away thing or the hype thing or the fatigue thing are going to come into play and the market's going to go the other direction. So I think that's all that's happening right now. There's a little bit of fatigue. There's a little bit of, over expectation by the market. And people just said, hey, you know what, I'm going to take some profits. And there's nothing wrong with that. So the healthiest thing we can do is have a market that goes in both directions. And, I think the big challenge in the NFT Web3 world is just to realize that, when we make 10% in a day, and we're like, this sucks, man. It should have been 20%. These gains are unheard of. Like, people in the real world markets are looking at crypto people going, you people are crazy. Like you made 10% today and then you did the same thing last week. They're lucky to make 10% in a year. Like if they make 10% on a stock in a year, that's an amazing year. You can do it here in a day. You can do it again if you're smart, and again and again and again. And so you just have to temper those expectations. And as the market matures, the upswings and downswings are going to slow down. So everything's going to start evening out as the market broadens and it gets deeper, because you'll have more buyers and sellers not agreeing on when they should buy and when they should sell. So these are all good things. These are all healthy things, and they prove that the market is maturing. But the psychology side of things, there's a long way to go in Web3 and crypto, because we have a lot of people who've never seen a market cycle. They've never seen a market swing before. They've never really seen, they weren't around when the dot-com crashed in, 99, 2000. They weren't around when housing dropped 50% in 2007, 2008. They were too young, or they don't care. And so, now we're starting to see a little bit of this happen with crypto. And if you look back through history, looking at the short run is never beneficial. There's always going to be acute events. The question is what's going to happen over time. And you look at this through the lens of something like runes, which have been fun to play with. And we all got our airdrops, and I sold mine immediately, pocketed the Bitcoin because I knew it was just gonna go through a hype cycle, or at least that was what I thought. And of course, it went up crazy. And then I looked at it yesterday, and I posted a tweet. It's like, hey, how low can runes go? It's already back to airdrop prices, right? So it's already went full circle on the Ferris wheel. It's been up and down and back around. And then the only question you have to ask is, if you believe in the story, like if you believe in the story of Solana or Ethereum or Bitcoin, when the when you see a dip in the price and the story that you believe to be true hasn't changed, the only thing that's happened is you've been given an incredible opportunity to buy what you believe to be true on sale. So these are the times to get excited when everyone is depressed and downtrodden, and oh, crypto is dead, NFTs are over. this all of this stuff is happening. This is the time when smart people get excited, because then they start cherry picking the good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned runes, and I've always also taken a look at them, and to me it feels like they are kind of stuck right now, and also running out of ideas. Leonidas keeps doing the stuff he has been doing all the time, and definitely interesting to see where they go. And yeah, did you take advantage of the dip? Did you buy some bags?
On runes?
Oh no, like on crypto in general.
Oh yeah, yeah. I bought all the way down. So, I liquidated some stuff, like I said, when Solana was up around the 200 mark. And I bought it. I started buying it back when it was in the low 170s, 60s, 50s, and I had a couple buys in the 40s. And then over the weekend, I had some buys in the 120s, which I didn't think was I would be able to see anytime soon. So I took advantage of that, and I bought Bitcoin and I bought Solana over the weekend. I probably put like $1,000 into the market, just in small buys, like 50 bucks here, 100 bucks there. And I just bought it all the way down. So yeah, I'm definitely taking advantage of this. And I think that, when you look at the long-term play and where everything's going, and I mean, again, just realizing where we are in the S curve, I mean, like we haven't even begun yet. I mean, if you can just buy quality assets now, you're going to do really well, but you got to have a little bit of patience. So anytime the market gives me a discount, man, and if I have a little cash on hand, I'm going to buy.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. I feel like the markets will have a lot of sideways movement for now and for the upcoming weeks, and there will definitely be more opportunities for every one of us. But let's take a look at the NFT markets. There was one big topic this week, and I know you're affected. The DeGods went back to Solana, and it's pretty interesting because I saw a lot of fodder around that, but I feel like if I were a holder, I wouldn't even care because I probably would be happy about them moving back to Solana. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, I could talk about this for a long time. I mean, I think that in total, I think DeGods, Frank, whoever you want to, say is responsible for the project, I think they made a lot of big mistakes. The first big mistake was blinking when their holders said, "Oh, Ethereum sucks and the season three sucks." The first, the first chink in the armor showed up then. So I think if you, let me see, I forget what it was. I think it was yesterday or the day before. I made a post and I was just talking about like what you have to do if you're going to actually build something, and what it takes to actually build something, and there was a book by Derek Sievers, this guy who wrote, or actually who created CD Baby back in the day. And, it was basically a CD label for like independent artists, and what you could do is you could get your music basically printed up and shipped out to people. It's kind of like an Amazon for independent bands, artists, singers, that sort of thing. And so he got really big and ended up selling the company for a lot of money. I forget who bought it. It might have been Apple or Amazon. But anyway, um, during the course of building his business, he had record execs like A&R record execs coming to him saying, "Hey, we got the new, Dr. Dre, or we got the new, whoever album out, and we want you to, put it on your platform." And he would literally respond, "No, like, no, we can't do that. We're not going to do that." And of course, the record people were like shocked. This is back in the like early 2000s. They were just shocked that they wouldn't want to carry like a new Dre album, or whatever the popular artist that they have at the time. Why won't you do this? And it went against his mandate, right? So his mandate was to promote independent artists, like the small people. And he knew that the minute he put a big name on the label, that he would have become a liar in the eyes of all the people that he served, but B, he's going to lose all of the people that agreed to come along with him on the journey in the first place. And you see this everywhere, right? In the NFT market. And the reason I posted that image, and it's actually a picture of from the first few paragraphs of a chapter of the book titled "Proudly Exclude People." This is what DeGods failed to do, and this is what so many NFT projects fail to do. They think that having 10,000 people in their Discord, or 40,000 fake Twitter followers is somehow clout and is somehow going to move them to the promised land. But then when your value proposition is based in hype, nothing happens because nobody there gives a shit. So you attracted a bunch of people who didn't really come together under an umbrella that means something to them. And so you have to proudly exclude people who don't care about what it is that you're doing, And for everyone on this call and everyone who's listening back to this later, once it's on the podcast, like when you're creating something, you can't create for other people. You have to create for you and find the people who think like you and want to be a part of what it is that you're doing, and then run with those people, right? And so I see, I drop into these spaces all the time where artists are bitching and moaning because they can't sell their art. And so what they do is they form these little groups, these little DAOs, and then they basically just sell their art to each other, which doesn't help. Because the truth is, like, if you are an artist and you want to get something into the marketplace and your goal is to sell it, okay, well, A, you're not an artist because that's not the goal of art. You're something else. But if your goal is to sell your art, then you have to find what the market wants before what you want. You have to put the market above yourself. And so when the art doesn't sell, you form a group, and then you basically just buy each other's art, and you're nice to one another. But that doesn't train you or teach you what the market wants. That just gives you a false sense of accomplishment. and it doesn't give you proper feedback because everyone in the group thinks you're the greatest. You know, the worst thing you can be told when you're doing good is, oh, you're the greatest. And so it just sort of cannibalizes itself and no one grows. So there's two things. Like, you're either putting out what you want because you believe it to be true, and you really want to find the people in the world, the 1% in the world, the 500 people in the world who think like you and want to help get good things into the world, whatever that happens to mean for you. Or and then, of course, suffer the pain of that because you're going to get a 99% failure, right? Like, if you're looking for 1% of the people, 99% are not your person. So you're going to have a 99% failure rate, and you have to deal with that while you're building. The other thing is, you build for the market, which is what the NFT people do. They base basically everything on what they think they can sell, which is not art. It's not creative. It's not accretive to value in the long term. And so it falls in on itself, but it works to generate cash, right? And so we have this model in the NFT world that works to generate cash where, okay, we have this thing, we're going to make all these promises, we're going to hire this influencer, we're going to hire that influencer, and then we're going to put all this shit in the marketplace, bring, 10,000 people in our Discord who really don't give a shit and are going to go away as soon as we mint. And then what? That's the model, right? And so, like, when you look at what DeGods did, Frank had a great idea and he blinked. And this is where I sort of lost respect for the guy. He moved to Ethereum, and the reason he moved to Ethereum was because Ethereum has a reputation for being like, oh, it's the fancy chain, right? It's the fancy NFT chain, right? It's the one that, the big projects are on. And he wanted that cloud. Okay, cool, nothing wrong with that. All right. Well, the problem is he minted on Solana and he had a bunch of Solana degens in his population. So when he started putting out his message, there started to get pushback on what he wanted to create. And what he verbalized that he wanted to create was an exclusive worldwide club of holders, not more than 10,000 people. All right. And so the season 3 art came out, and in my opinion, it was by far the best art. And then everybody from the Solana degen world just decided to shit on it. And then, of course, that created a lot of negativity. You saw this all happening last year. The prices went through the floor. And that's when I actually bought in, of course, when the prices went through the floor. And I picked up 4 DeGods back then. And then ended up selling one for a small profit and holding 3, right? And so I bought the idea that Frank was going to be in the process of building an exclusive club because exclusivity was the product. The artwork isn't that great, but the season 3 artwork was the best in my opinion. It was cleanest, it was smoothest, it had the most promise. It reflected the values of someone who wanted to build like a long-term exclusive program. And then in many interviews, he's stated, things like NFTs are a luxury item, which is true, right? But most people in the world can't afford NFTs. So if you're on this call and you're hearing this and you can afford NFTs, you're in the upper echelon of people in the world. And so, that's a story that you could sell, but you have to have the community backing. So when he went that direction and he brought all the degens with him, remember, he didn't have the benefit of curating his community. He just sold to everyone in the beginning because he was early, which anyone would have done. But now the people that he accumulated don't align with his vision. And so now he can't do the exclusive club of 10,000 because now he's getting shit on every day. He can't do the season 3 art, which is the best artwork because it doesn't look like degen art, right? And so now the complaints continue to mount and build. And the next thing you know, he's literally come full circle back to where he started, but now he's in a weaker position because he blinked. The community said, "Hey, we don't like what you're doing," and he said, "Oh, I'm scared. Let me shift. Let me shift directions." What he should have said was, "Fuck off," and that would have drawn in more high quality buyers, and it would have sent a message to the world that, listen, we have a spine over here, and we have a vision and something that we really believe is valuable and something that we're going to get behind, and we want you to come with us. We love you. We appreciate you. We're going to do our damnedest to take care of you guys. And, we really want to see everyone succeed. But that's not what he did. And so, he lost a lot of I guess you'd say, style points and credibility points, especially with people like myself who bought in at that time under that initial vision. And so I get it though. Like, I mean, he's trying to run a business. At his point, they bought a basketball team, and they've got a team of developers they have to pay. And so at the end of the day, it's not an art project anymore; it's a business. And he had the opportunity to do something great and just blinked. So coming back to Solana, yeah, I think it's just par for the course. That was pretty much decided when when he blinked and said, "Okay, I'm going to give in." Had he not given in and come back to Solana, it would have been more interesting. I think Solana is actually getting more cred now over Ethereum in terms of the NFT markets because of its usability. But yeah, he blinked a long time ago. I think this is just, like a natural result of that. So yeah, but I mean that post, you have to proudly exclude people. That's the thing he failed to do, and that's what so many projects failed to do. And that's really the most unlearned lesson in this market, that if people really wrap their minds around it, they can really do great things if they start understanding, hey, we don't need everybody. We need a core group of committed people. And these are the people that we're going to love on and care about and provide the most value to. And even if, I've got to be up all night, doing what I've got to do, I'm going to do everything in my power to create great art and provide great services and find ways to add value to the marketplace. And so that's where my heart is. And, I just, it hurts. Like, it hurts to see that happen because I feel like he was on the cusp of doing something great. So, and that's a really long way of saying I think it was a mistake. It was a mistake a long time ago.
Well, while you were talking, I was actually checking the different art they released, like season 1 to 3. I think the third season was kind of marketed as some kind of art downgrade. You are in the community. Is it like I always feel like art is some kind of matter of taste, but do you feel like most of the community liked season 3 art the most?
I mean, the season three art was the first time you could see the DeGods blink. And what I mean by that is, like, I don't know if the analogy translates into German or every other culture, but like if you're having a stare down with someone, right? Like, you lose if you blink first. So when I say like he blinked, like he basically just gave up what he wanted, to please other people. But this started like the minute the season three art dropped, it started getting hated on. And so rather than standing beside the art and saying, we love this art, we created something amazing, and we want everyone to, take a hard look at where we're going, what he did was he rode the wave of negativity and said, okay, well, instead of being, an art upgrade, we're going to now call it an art downgrade, and we're going to have fun playing with language, right? And they do that a lot, right? Um, he'll use language to sort of, like the whole DeGods to zero thing, right? Like, they're just riding the wave of negativity to create more attention. So, when people started dumping DeGods, Frank jumped on there and he's like, oh, we got a lot more, loans out there. We got a lot more pieces that need to be sold. So DeGods to zero, man, DeGods to zero. Of course, he doesn't want DeGods to go to zero. He's just saying that to ride the wave. And the season three art downgrade became that, like 3 or 4 weeks into the artwork, after it was evident that they weren't going to win the DGens over. They basically just said, well, we're just going to call it a downgrade then, and you let that be our marketing material.
Yeah, regarding the marketing, I also felt the same way actually. The whole Let It Go Lower thing was kind of weird. And also the videos they recently did. But it feels like they kind of got the momentum right now. I think the prices increased. How did you like the marketing, like in general?
I honestly, I think they do a pretty good job of telling a story. I mean, the videos are kind of pointless and ridiculous and funny, but they do a pretty good job of telling a story. They create a feeling. I think, they come from that sort of late Gen X, early millennial. Um,
Okay, guys, I'm not sure if I'm gone or if Jason is gone. Can anyone react if he hears me? Let's see. So you can hear me, guest NFT? Okay, so it seems like Jason is gone. Let's wait a minute for him. Looks like he lost connection. Looks like he was gone for a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I got you. You was talking about the marketing.
Oh, is it? Man, wow. Okay, geez, I didn't realize I got cut off. Yeah, sorry about that. Maybe Frank was listening and he had Elon cut me off or something. Who knows? I don't even remember what we were saying at that point. But yeah, it's just this is one of those things where I was just talking about like staying aligned with that vision is so key. And when we're putting good things into the world, really, choosing to stay aligned with the vision, it creates a situation where our people can trust us. You know what I mean? Like you want to be trustworthy, you have to show up with a consistent message over time and let people know that you can be trusted, right? Like if we're putting out like if Goodfellas puts out good artwork, good artwork, good artwork, and then suddenly tomorrow we mail it in, like we use a piece that like Ben created or something, right, from back in the day. Like if we just mailed in a piece and put it out there and it's like, hey, here's a piece, people are gonna be like, what the fuck is this? You guys were talking about quality and put in your time and effort into creating something great. And now here you are with this piece of junk. I don't want this piece of junk. And then all of a sudden we lose credibility and trust. And so I mean, that's really the story of DeGods in a nutshell for me. It's just a lack of credibility across leadership now because they've changed directions two or three times and they blinked in the face of like really being challenged on what they wanted to create. So, if I'm looking at a business or I'm looking at an organization or an NFT project or whatever, I just want to make sure that the people that I'm, supporting and buying into really believe the words that are coming out of their mouth, and unless and until factual information shows up to cause you to make a new rational decision, then you stay on that course, right? So I don't know. Does that make sense? Like I know I've kind of been rambling and I got cut off, so I'm not really sure where I was supposed to pick up.
No worries, man. Yeah, definitely makes sense. Do you plan on selling your DeGods?
Um, I'll sell maybe one more of them, but I'm in no rush to sell them. I bought mine with $800 ETH, so I mean with ETH at three whatever it is, $3,000. I bought mine with $800 ETH, so I mean they could go way lower before I would lose actual cash. I mean, of course, I'd like to keep my ETH multiplied, but I'm in no rush to sell them. I sold one for a small gain, and I think I'm sitting on. I don't know. I don't even know what the floor price is because I don't really care about that stuff today. But what is the floor price? I think it was like 50 some odd sold last time I looked at it. Um, and I paid no more than three $800 ETH for them. So I'm in for like 2 grand, $2,400 on each one of mine. I think they're worth like 5 grand right now. So I mean, I could pull the cash out of three of them. You know, I got, let's see, what is that? Like 7,500. I got like 7,500 in, 800 or 8,000 in, and I could pull out 15,000. So I'm not too worried about that right now. I'm looking at it in terms of cash, not in terms of crypto. So I would much rather obviously see the prices go back up, and then of course being able to liquidate at higher prices. But I mean, I'm still up on them, so I don't really care right now.
Yeah, sounds like a decent amount of profit you made on that. But let's jump on the Goodfellas now. First thing we could mention is that you somehow managed to delist the OpenSea out of Mob Collection. I remember that I actually wrote an email back then. I think it was like 5 months ago. Never received an answer. So yeah, how did you do the magic?
Okay, so the magic of the written word, right? Like we live in a world where everything's being dematerialized, and like when we first just go all the way back to the beginning, right? Like all the way back to the beginning, when Art of Mob rugged and we took the reins, right? It took what was it, like 4 months, 5 months to get the first artist to even talk to us, right? And then after that, it took another 4 to 6 weeks to get an agreement hashed out, like a licensing agreement hashed out. So the reason we were able to do this is because we put in all the boring ass work to find the creators, the artists, get the legal documents done, and then get them properly executed with actual fucking signatures and addresses and contact information and usable clauses such that there's really no doubt as to who owns the license to what. And so when I reached out to OpenSea, there was like the old Artemov account. You I think got on my Telegram one day and you were like, "Hey man, did you see the Art of Mob Twitter?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't look at the Art of Mob Twitter." And so I'll go over there and there's somebody had posted the mob is back, right? And then they changed the link to the OpenSea because we had already had everything delisted from Magic Eden. So I was like, really? Good Lord. So I just went down and started looking through some of the comments, and people were like, there was like one person that was like, oh my God. And then everybody else was like, what a scam. Why are you back? Go away. Like, we're tired of ruggers, kind of a thing. Like every other comment was just something like that, right? So the market is getting smarter at least. That's good. But because we did the legwork on finding the artists and spending all that time and getting the documentation for the creation of those pieces, I reached out to OpenSea, and of course, I'm sure they get lots of delist requests a lot, and they want proof, man. You got to have your proof, man. You got to have your ducks in a row, right? So I finally was able to to get someone to respond, and then I basically just had to pony up a little legal package. There's a specific format they wanted in, there's a specific contents that it had to have. And so I put together a legal package that included all of our documentation, the contact information for the artists, the verified execute documents and signatures, and the proof that I'm a real boy. I'm not just I'm not just a pretty face hiding behind an avatar on X, right? Like I'm a real boy who's actually doing real things in the real world. It took them like, I don't know, 2 days to get back to me. It was very, very quick. But getting to the point of being able to do that was months and months and months of work, right? And so because, I mean, people look at, people look at projects and they'll be like, oh yeah, this happened immediately, and this happened, overnight, and this happened, yesterday, and this took 30 seconds, and awesome. But then when you look at the underlying structure, if the baseline, documents, if the foundation is not in place, there's really nothing to build on. So when we came out with this project and started putting quality artwork and taking care of artists, like going back and like paying royalties to artists who's been fucked over, which is something that we've been doing, from every mint that we do, like these are the things that, are just unheard of in this market, man. But because we did that and put that infrastructure in place, we can now leverage it. And it's only going to get stronger as we learn what each exchange needs. And so they responded, and I posted the email in the Discord for everyone to read. They yanked both of those collections, and they did it a lot faster than Magic Eden. And that might have been because Magic Eden had already set the precedent and pulled it. But yeah, they didn't give me any shit after I did the proper submission. They just, looked at the proof and said, "Hey, there's really no argument here. Here you go."
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting because I feel like there should be greater like hurdles to list a collection, because everyone can actually copy paste the collection and list it on Magic Eden. And I feel like if you have to go there and I don't know what you did, if you sent your ID or anything, but if you have to do all that shit just to get a collection delisted, and you are actually owning the legal rights, it's too difficult in my opinion.
I mean, they don't want to waste money on lawyers. They don't want to waste money in some sort of fight. I mean, they have other things to do. Like they make their money by making a market, right? Every transaction that goes through, they take a percentage of. So the fact that they delisted, a bad actor doesn't hurt them in any way, shape, or form. It actually helps them and builds reputation and starts to set precedent for what they can do in the future. So, and it's in everyone's best interest. And, just like in the post that I put in Discord, like having as many delisted collections that are either stolen or rugged or just straight up scams, like as much of that stuff as we can delist as possible, the better it is for every single person. Because remember, when you're coming into the market and you're new and you're looking around and you don't know where to go or what to do or how to find this information or that information or, who to trust, let's say you buy that stuff. Okay, well, now you've just spent money on something that's ultimately going to be delisted as the market matures, and then you're just straight out. So every time we do that, whether it's Goodfellas or another project that's really focused on making sure people are taken care of, like every time we do that, we provide like a good service to the world, not just to our community, but to the world. And that's how I look at it. Like I want to be a good citizen of Web3 and I want to do good things and bring good things to life. That's really why we're all here, is to create, and creation is a positive thing. But when someone steals your ideas, someone steals your art, someone, makes promises to artists, makes money on those artists and then doesn't even pay them and then disappears, like these are just some of the lowest forms of life on the planet. And you just don't treat people that way, right? And so anytime we can delist that stuff, man, it's a good thing. And dude, it just feels good to make sure that, one or two fewer people are in the world, with the ability to take from someone. The word take, man, like, there's really, you always hear these phrases about, oh, there's two types of people in the world, right? And there's a lot of truth in some of those things, but I mean, I think of the world as really being two types of people. There's givers and there's takers, and you want to spend as much time on the giver side as possible. And unfortunately, in the world of get money quick, or get money today, or give me money, you end up on the taker side. A lot of people end up on the taker side more than the giver side. So that's one of those things that will happen, that will change as we continue to mature. But man, here, like, again, adhering to our mandate, we're here to do good things, and seeing that happen and prevent other people from getting screwed by buying into a collection that was stolen, man, that just makes a lot of sense. So it feels good, actually. It feels really good.
Yeah, definitely. It's very satisfying, especially because the old Out of Mob account actually promoted that collection on OpenSea by putting it into his bio. So yeah, I'm very glad that it's gone. Yesterday I went on our Discord and I almost felt like I was on the wrong Discord because I saw so many new colors there. And yeah, tell me what you did.
Yeah, so this is just all part of it, man. Like, we talk a lot about, providing high quality, value, art, experiences. And I just really believe that everything we do should be from top to bottom done well, like rather than focusing on 50 things, let's do one or two things really, really well, and so part of maintaining and taking care of our artwork is making sure that we've got Discord set up correctly and so that it's easy to follow, so that if anyone who pops in there and they're not sure what the roles mean, hey, there's a channel right here where you can look and see what all the roles mean. And basically wanted to start setting up rewards and roles that people could earn as they, acquire pieces, and we continue to develop, whales before going into a more public persona. And so, we basically set it up to where there's a holder role for anyone who owns at least one piece, but then after that, it just begins to escalate. And so, you've got aficionados, you've got connoisseurs, you've got maestros, masters, and these are aligned with sort of our multiples of seven, which is aligned with our, belief that Bitcoin is good. So you've got 7, you've got 14, and you've got 21. And so hitting those marks of holding in those collections gives you those different roles. We also have got a one of one role. We've changed the boss holder role to boss. And that boss role just sort of connotes who you are, not what you have, right? So like I don't want a boss holder. I want a boss. Like I want someone who's going to be there, someone who actually gives a shit and who cares about the direction of the project. Like I want a boss player, not a boss holder. Like give me somebody I can run with, right? And so just like words mean things, that's one of the reasons that I deprecated boss holder and changed it to boss. Which, by the way, some of you, you guys make sure that you have your wallets registered with Matrika. I think April, what's up, April? I think you're on here. Make sure that you go register your wallet with Matrika. If you don't know how to do that, let me know. And there's a couple other people I need to reach out to as well, but I saw you, so I figured I'd mention it. Basically, what Matrika is going to do with all those roles that I made public, they're going to actually manage those automatically. So if you buy or sell or you pick up, Matrika's database is constantly being updated, and you'll get those roles by default. So now myself, Alex, we don't have to run around making sure you've got the right roles and have access to the right channels, which of course just makes everybody's life easier. So setting up all those roles was just part of, the game. Like it's how can we provide an experience? How can we provide something that just feels good and it's easy to follow and understand? And that, like I said before, that's where my heart is. I just want to do everything to the best of my ability to make sure people can follow along and pull value from what it is that we're doing.
Yeah, definitely. I actually just read through the chat you had with Matrika and saw that they even charged like $150 for some additional roles, but it's definitely worth it, man. I love the way you set it up. Well done. But let's jump into the upcoming drop as well. You just mentioned that you finished it. Yeah, what's the current state right now?
Yeah, so last night I started converting all the ordinal bosses. So for those of you guys holding an ordinal boss on Bitcoin, one of the commitments that we made to each of you is that you would get a copy of that NFT, that ordinal, on the Solana chain as a free drop, just for trusting us and believing in us. And so the first step in fulfilling that was to go ahead and convert all that metadata and those images over into a usable form for a Solana mint. So I've got all of the images converted, and rather than them being like smaller images like what you find on ordinals, because obviously the cost to mint ordinals is extremely high with large files. These are all high-res versions of your bosses. These are all, like if you wanted to print them out, if you wanted to create posters, if you want to start using them in IP situations, these are the files that you're going to want to use. They're all, 2048 by 2048 high-res files. So those will be minted on Solana and then airdropped to holders. So if you're a holder of an ordinal boss, we're going to airdrop the Solana version or airclaim the Solana version to you, um, and start fulfilling that obligation. So the next batch of 100 won't be a paid batch. It's actually going to be a airclaim airdrop batch where you pick up your Solana version of your boss. So pretty simple there. And then of course the other commitment that we have to the bosses is not only do you get a Solana version of your boss, but you're also going to get a version of your boss with a face. And so, as you know, we have the faceless pieces, which is kind of our calling, our trademark. So we're going to employ artists who's much better than I am at doing faces to actually create some really cool faces for our pieces. And then you'll also get a version of your boss with a face. So these will be the the beginnings of starting to look into branching out into other directions. And we'll start once we've got some art ready, we'll start sharing that with the community. So we have two airdrops or air claims for you guys for the bosses. One is the copy and one is the copy with a face. So this next drop or claim will actually fulfill that first obligation that we made to you guys.
Perfect, man. I'm really looking forward to that drop. Yeah, an hour has passed again in the blink of an eye. Do we have something else for today?
Yeah, let's see. Got on here. We've got a few folks on here. Good to see everybody. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, obviously throw up a hand, say hello if you want to. But yeah, so tomorrow, if you're a nerd like me, I mean, I know you guys can't see my office right now, but if you're a nerd like me, um, and you're sitting in front of like a massive collection of comics or action figures or what have you, you'll know that tomorrow is a big day in nerddom, right? Those of you guys who know, anybody want to tell me what it is? Tomorrow in nerddom is May the 4th, right? So this is traditionally kind of Star Wars's co-opted holiday, like so May the 4th be with you kind of a thing. So there's the potential that we might have something cool happening tomorrow, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Another surprise coming. Yeah, great, man. Looking forward to that. Yeah, this was it for today. If no one has any questions, we'll wrap it up here. Thanks you everybody for being here again. Love to be on Spaces on Fridays. Really looking forward to these all the time. Yeah, thank you everyone. Jason, you and I, we should definitely have another meeting this weekend if you're up for that. I got some stuff to share as well. And yeah, other than that, have a good night, good evening, good
Oh,
morning.
wait one
Oh,
sec.
something's coming
One,
now.
one quick question. So, you guys don't know this, but Alex missed our podcast recording session on Monday because of a World War II bomb found in the neighborhood. I got to hear the story before we go. What the fuck happened with that?
Yeah, it was actually pretty crazy because like 1 hour before we usually record the podcast, I got the information. When I came home, I see the neighbors in front of my home, and they were like, "Hey, there was a World War bomb found here, pretty close to my house." And yeah, we all had to be evacuated. I think it was like 2,000 people who had to leave their houses, and it was pretty annoying because I had obviously plans for this evening. And yeah, I had to leave. I was actually going to a restaurant and spending some time at my friend's house. And then they started I'm not sure what exactly they did, but like 6 hours later, we were good to go to get home again. Yeah, like I said, it was pretty annoying, but things like these happen all the time here in my region. I was never affected yet. It was my first time. So yeah, happy everything went out good, and yeah, I'm still alive.
Well, that's cool, man. Yeah, I obviously disappointed we didn't get to record, but hey, at least everybody is safe and all is well. It's just really amazing. I mean, we've never really had a major situation in terms of war on home soil here, so I don't know what that's like in a lot of ways. You could find an arrowhead or a Civil War bullet every now and then, but nothing like a World War II bomb in your backyard.
Definitely couldn't agree more, man. So perfect. Let's close this out for today. And yeah, like I mentioned, thank you everyone for being here, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye, guys. Have a great week.